Raider Nation, help me out here. Let's get to 80,000 subscribers on the Las Vegas Raiders Report. We only need 825 more. Our sub numbers have been down a little bit. I'm just being honest with y'all. I want to still be able to make videos every single day. So if you like this channel, if you got my back, if you consider us family, then go ahead and hit that big red button that says subscribe.
Nation, no matter the location, from OTA, LA to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You guys are watching the Raiders Report, and on today's show, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Going to break down some OTAs news and notes, talk about a player that the Raiders signed yesterday, and the 2021 preseason schedule, it has come out. The reason why I wanted to be able to talk to y'all about this, because on all three of these days, put them in your calendar right now, I am going to be live on the Raiders Report with a watch party. They are by far my favorite shows that we do here at Chat Sports. All right, so the Raiders had a little bit of news that happened yesterday. They signed cornerback Blidi Wreh-Wilson. They signed him to a one-year deal. The contract details have yet to be announced. I'm going to guess somewhere between the $780,000 and $920,000 mark for the one-year deal. Over the last 5 seasons, he's played in 41 games and has started in only 3. This was more of a depth move for the Raiders. He played in 245 snaps last season in Atlanta and actually made pretty good use of those snaps. So he had 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, only 9 tackles, but the 31-year-old out of Connecticut, when the ball was near him, good ball skills here, was able to bring it in and ultimately make the interception. So what I want to be able to show you all now is an updated look here at what I believe the Raiders cornerback depth chart looks like as it stands right now. You have Trayvon Moore and Casey Hayward. Those are probably going to be your top 2 guys, even though Hayward and Arnette could battle it out for cornerback 3. You also see Wreh-Wilson. He could slide in a few different areas as well. But that, what I believe, is the Raiders' cornerback depth chart as it stands right now. So what do y'all think? Will Wreh-Wilson end up making the 53-man roster? I want you to go down in the comments section, whether you're watching this video on YouTube, Facebook, I don't give a shit where. I want you to let me know, where do y'all think, or do you think he's actually going to be able to make this team? I want you to go down and type Y for yes, or I want you to go down and type N for no. He's a good player. He's going to be able to add a little bit of depth here, but I'm going to sit here and type my N for no. I don't think he's going to end up making this 53-man roster, and it has not much to do with him. It's more to do with that the Raiders have some pretty solid cornerbacks that they like, but don't be surprised he's going to be a player that you have on the practice squad. Could be a dude that's just floating around the Raiders roster, and if a few other players end up getting hurt, maybe he finds his way onto the 53-man, but as it stands right now, I do not believe that Blidi Wreh-Wilson is going to be able to figure out a way to get on this team. Raiders news and rumors here at the Raiders Report. Let's get into the latest around Vegas. So we've been talking a lot about OTAs here, and I wanted to be able to break down some players that I have not seen at Raiders OTA practice as it stands right now. There's 10 guys as I see it right now. Josh Jacobs, he's the first one. Denzel Good, Sam Young, Darius Stills, he wasn't there yesterday. Yannick Ngakoue, he wasn't there yesterday. Solomon Thomas, Quentin Jefferson, Divine Diablo, James Onawalu, and then Isaiah Johnson. These were the 10 players that were not on the field practicing on Wednesday, and I just wanted to be able to keep you guys updated on that. The one player that I really want to take a deep dive on is Josh Jacobs, and there's been a rumor out there by The Athletic that you could potentially see the Las Vegas Raiders running back hold out. For those of you that don't know what the one Chucky hat means, it simply means like there is a 25% chance or less that it ends up happening. I always say one Chucky head, it's a small shred of truth. I get the fact that he's been a no-show at OTAs, right? That's obviously concerning considering the fact that he's only entering his 3-year, so contract extensions shouldn't really be in the talk, but we have to remember this. It is not mandatory if players go to practice right now. You can go. It looks good if you go, and I'll be 100% legitimate with y'all. With him not going and considering the fact that the offseason he had with the whole, DUI thing, the car crash, we all remember that, right? It's not a great look. So on June 15th, it's like a week from now, is the start of mandatory minicamp. If he's still not there then we can really panic. But what do y'all think here? Do you think Jacobs will end up holding out? I want you to type H for holdout, or I want you to go down in the comments section and type W for won't. I would be pretty damn surprised if Jacobs ended up holding out for the simple fact of I think the Raiders have done a pretty good job being able to give him the rock. I get that some of the other moves might make him unhappy, but you're your third year in the NFL. You consider yourself a leader on this team. I don't believe that he's going to end up, sitting out or he's going to end up holding out, asking for a new contract. That's not going to happen here. But the reason why this is starting to pop up over, on all these other areas across the web is because the Raiders have made some moves this offseason at the running back position, and this is a position that a lot of people did not really think that, they had to go out and make some moves. So you went out, you added Kenyon Drake. Obviously, you still have a good fullback in Alec Ingold, but we're really going to take a concentration here on two of the running backs. The first one is Drake, who they ended up signing to a 2-year, $14.5 million deal, and $3 million this year he's going to make, but he's also going to make about $11 million guaranteed money, which is a lot of money. What's interesting, though, is in the time that Jacobs hasn't been at practice, the hype around Drake has been growing and growing and growing. He's saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things. And for a lot of people out there, he might actually take a serious chunk out of Jacobs' playing time. The other thing that I want to bring up here is I was a believer that the Raiders were going to move on from Jalen Richard. All I'm saying is this, the fact that he is still on the roster, maybe there is a little bit of smoke to these Josh Jacobs holdout rumors because there's no reason why you pay Drake all that money. There's no reason why you then also keep Jalen Richard as your third running back making $3.5 million. Maybe the Raiders know something we don't. Maybe there is something actually going on with Josh Jacobs. My fingers crossed, though, or it isn't true. So what's your panic meter? When I threw out the term Josh Jacobs holdout, what if he's unhappy right now? I want you to go down in the comment section right now and let me know from a scale from 0 all the way up to 100. How worried about Josh potentially holding out are you? If you're like, you know what, Mitch, not worried at all. I think this is being really, really overblown. I don't really blame you. You can type 0. If you're like freaking out, you're pulling out your hair, you're like, oh my gosh, Josh Jacobs, he hates it here, then you can go down in the comment section and put 100. I'm somewhere around like a 10, maybe a 12. I'm not going to get too worked up until there's a reason to actually get worked up. I have partnered up with the News Break app, so Raider Nation, I'm asking for your help, and also the app can be super awesome for you. So what I want you to do right now is listen up. Get out your iPhone. Get out your Android. Go to chatsports.com/RaidersNB. It is then going to take you to the App Store. You download the free Newsbreak app, and that way you can stay up to date, everything going on in your city. So please go ahead and do it. I'm going to put that link in the comments, and it is going to be in the description. If you have trouble remembering it, it is chatsports.com/RaidersNB. So do me a solid and download the app. Follow us on the Newsbreak app, Raider Nation. We are at 800 followers. Or no, we're trying to get to 800 followers. We're only at 762. I'm all over the place here. We are in third place in terms of the most downloads at all of the shows here at Chat Sports. Show that Raider Nation shows out. If you're trying to stay up to date on everything going on around the Las Vegas Raiders, then click that follow button and let's get to 800 followers. Is Casey Hayward playing outside cornerback? That's the story that we're talking about here on the Raiders Report. The rumor origin is from the Athletics' Vic Tafur, and I am going to give this one 3 chalky heads. I believe that it is pretty likely, 75% chance that Hayward ends up playing outside cornerback Week 1, Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if you remember, he can play in the slot. But what's really interesting about OTAs is sometimes you get an inside scoop. Sometimes you can see how these guys are playing in certain situations. From what it looks like right now, Hayward has only been playing on the outside. And when he was asked, what do you think about playing in the nickel? From what I've heard, he didn't seem like that he was too thrilled about it here. So as it stands right now, you got the Raiders cornerback depth chart of Mullen, Hayward. They're probably going to be your 1-2. We'll see what happens with Damon Arnette. If Arnette doesn't end up getting the cornerback 2 spot, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe he could end up playing in the nickel. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. But this is a pretty interesting quote from Vic on, Hayward playing in the nickel. And I want to be able to read this. And then I'm going to show you what Hayward had to say on when he was asked if he'd be interested in playing in the slot. Just going off his body language when asked, Casey Hayward is not moving to inside corner with the Raiders. So the reason why I want to be able to bring this up is because when I saw that quote, a lot of people were like, all right, Vic said this, it's not going to end up happening. But usually Tafer's pretty good with this, but did he twist up his words a little bit? Because this is what Casey Hayward had to say on playing in the nickel. I haven't played inside in so long since I was in Green Bay. If I was asked, I could do it, but I feel like my role is wherever the team asks me to do. If it's special teams or playing inside, outside, I'll be a leader. Whatever they ask me to do, I can do. I've been doing it for a long time at a high level, which I 100% agree with. So I didn't see the body language of Hayward, but if I'm going to look at his words, to me, it says if they want him to play inside, if they want him to play outside, if they want him to play quarterback, defensive end, fullback, it sounds like Casey Hayward was going to end up doing it. So out of the top two corners battling out for cornerback 2 position, you know Mullen's going to be the number 1 guy, right? He's obviously going to be one of the outside players. But then you got Damon Arnette, who you drafted in round 1 just a season ago, and then you go out and bring in Casey Hayward, and if he's saying that, hey man, I want to play on the outside, that really could kick out Damon Arnette. So what I want you to do is go down in the comments section, type 20 for Damon, type 29 for Casey Hayward, who is going to be the starting cornerback 2 for the Las Vegas Raiders. This one's 2 chalky heads, Damon Arnette not starting. The reason why I have to talk about this is because if Casey Hayward ends up playing outside cornerback, which I believe he will, I believe he's going to end up winning this job, then does that mean Arnette has to slide into the nickel? It's an interesting question, right? He ended up playing it a little bit at Ohio State, but that was also because he was the 3rd best cornerback on that team, so they wanted to get him on the field. They wanted to put him around there. What's really interesting about this is when you draft a corner in round 1, you anticipate them being a starter. But Hayward's the better player, Mullen's the better player, and if you want Arnette on the field, like the dude's been absolutely working his tail off. He's put on a lot of muscle. He looks really good. He's doing all the right things, which is what I love to see. But for Gruden, you invested in this guy. You got to get him on the field, right? Right? So here was an interesting quote from Vic Tafur on Arnette playing in the slot. This one's from like a little bit, probably like a week or 2 ago. The Raiders staff has gone back to watch Ohio State film to try to integrate Arnette smoothly after half of his rookie season was lost to injuries and COVID-19. Arnette did look a lot better in zone coverages than man at Ohio State. There's also a chance Arnette could move to slot corner if free agent signee Casey Hayward takes one of the starting outside spots. Hayward, who played for Gus Bradley with the Chargers, has also played in the slot in the NFL. So if they're comfortable with Hayward on the outside and they are comfortable with Arnette playing in the nickel, you could potentially see the Raiders line up a starting player in the nickel, which then makes it a little bit more interesting for a guy like, Amik Robertson. So let me know, will Arnette start week 1? Go down in the comments section right now and type your Y for yes, or I want you to type N for no. I gave it 2 chalky heads, which means it's 50-50. If the Raiders want him to start, he's probably going to end up starting due to the draft capital. But if you're really telling me which players do I think fit certain situations the best, I really think it could come down to somebody like Arnette and Amik Robertson battling it out for the slot. If you guys got my back, then hit me up on Instagram at MitchellRents365. I've had a lot of people message me there saying, man, I appreciate your show, everything you're doing, and I just want you guys to know that I really do appreciate that. So if you've already messaged me, I got your back. You don't need to do it. But if you do have my back, if you like all the stuff we're doing here at the Raiders Report, I want you to DM me on Instagram at MitchellRents365 that you got my back. We're going to talk about the offensive line of the Las Vegas Raiders. We got some updates from OTAs that I want to be able to walk you all through. Before I get into some of those stories, let's look at this offensive line by Las Vegas. Obviously, the starting left tackle, Colton Miller. The real positions that we're going to look at here and we're going to talk about the starting center position between Andre James, Nick Martin, Jimmy Morrissey. We're also then going to look at Denzel Good, who has not been showing up to voluntary training camp as it stands right now. And we're also going to talk about John Simpson. Speaking of Simpson, that's the first story up here. And is he going to be starting at right guard for the Las Vegas Raiders? This story comes from The Athletic. So far, Simpson has been taking starting reps at the right guard position. He was drafted in the 4th round out of Clemson, 107 overall in the 2020 NFL draft. Didn't really get too much playing time last season because of all the other good players that the Raiders had. But you obviously know that Gabe Jackson is no longer a member of this team anymore. They had decided to move on from him. And with Good not practicing, it's pretty interesting to see Simpson getting his work. And I haven't talked to John Gruden, I haven't talked to Mike Mayock, but I also know how they think. they want Simpson starting at right guard, not because they don't like Denzel Good, because if he ends up beating out Good, that means Simpson is doing all the right things. But I am going to hit you all with this question here. If I'm going to give it only one Chucky head, it's probably less than a 10% chance of happening. It also has more to do with that I believe that Denzel Good is the better player, and he's the guy that I want starting at right guard. But let me know. Who will be the starting right guard Week 1 Monday Night Football up against the Baltimore Ravens? If you think it's Denzel Good, type DG in the comments. Or if you think it's John Simpson, type JH, or JS. Excuse me. Let's go to the next story here. Is Andre James going to be starting at center? This one's 3 Chucky heads. I believe that it's pretty likely. I'm even going to go on to say a 90% chance of happening. The fact that he's been taking all the starting center reps at OTAs thus far, the fact that I get that they signed Nick Martin, I get that they drafted Jimmy Morrissey in round 7, but as soon as they gave James that contract extension, which is somewhere around, like 3 years, $12 million, that should tell you everything that you need to know. They moved on from Rodney Hudson. That one kills me a little bit. Rodney Hudson was one of the best pass-blocking centers in the league, but if you actually look at the numbers, he was rated as the worst run-blocking center in the National Football League last season. And for this Raiders team, they were looking for a little bit more balance, and they wanted the younger face. So Andre James, I believe, is going to be the starting center for the Raiders this upcoming season. But what do y'all think? Do you think it's going to be Nick Martin? He's got a few more years underneath his belt. He's a veteran. He could actually probably also play guard in a pinch if we actually needed it. I'm going to type AJ, but this show's about the nation. Go down in the comment section right now. Let me know who's going to end up starting for Las Vegas.